Hi everybody, Dan Illman here with the DRF race of the day for Sunday, September the 25th. It's race number 11 at Remington Park, the Grade 3 $400,000 Oklahoma Derby. 3-year-olds going 1.1 miles. I'll be back with the full preview after this brief message. Want to view free Formulator past performances for this race? Head to the Race of the Day page at DRF.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel and bet this card with DRF Bets. Here's the field for the Oklahoma Derby. Please scan the QR code for Race of the Day access on your mobile device. Best Actor, the number 4, has a lot of upside potential and a lot of talent. He's your morning line favorite in this race, coming off a very easy victory in the Grade 3 Smarty Jones at Parks. And one of his best attributes is his tactical speed. We throw up the Timeform US pace projector. Our friends at Timeform US believe that Best Actor will be on the lead, and that wouldn't be a surprise. I guess horses like Big Chopper and Great Escape and Red Knobs could show a little bit of speed, but if Best Actor wants the lead, he can make it. He did go gate to wire in his career debut. I do wonder if trainer Brad Cox wouldn't mind having at least a little bit of a target for a little bit of the race with the 4 Best Actor. We'll begin our analysis with the number 1 Steel Sunshine, a horse that's in raging sharp form. He's won his last 3 races, 2 of them stakes, and I like that they're slowly stretching him out in distance. He won the Carryback going 7 furlongs. He won this race, the Ellis Park Derby, going 1 mile, and now they'll test him going 1 mile and 1/8. In the Ellis Park Derby, I thought he ran pretty well. He fell far behind in the early part of this race and then was just much the best, blowing by them all to win. The 6th place horse would come back to win a second-level allowance race with a 91 Buyer's speed figure. Steel Sunshine's going to get Lasix again. He raced without in his last 2 stakes appearances. He draws an inside post position. I'm not sure if the pace in this race is going to be very hot, and I believe that Steel Sunshine's the kind of late-running type that needs a bit of pace up front. But this horse is going to be a fair price, and his Buyer's speed figures are not too far behind those of the main contenders. He's a horse you can like. The number 2 is Red Knobs, going out for trainer Robertino Deodoro, who also has Great Escape in this race. And we've seen this year after year from the Deodoro barn. They find horses like Red Knobs and Great Escape, horses that are okay, far from stars, and they take them up into Western Canada and they make hay in some of the derbies up there. Red Knobs was claimed for $50,000 3 starts back. He won the Manitoba Derby in his first start for Deodoro. He was second last time out in the Canadian Derby at Century Mile. He showed big speed that day and was kind of caught up in a pace duel, and he ran an okay second. The problem is those last 2 races are slow, and he's going to have to improve as he faces better horses in the Oklahoma Derby. Flash of Genius is the number 3. This horse is still eligible for a non-winners of 2 lifetime race. While his lone win came on dirt, I wonder if he is more effective on the turf. It seems that way just looking at his recent running lines. His most recent start on dirt, 3 starts back, was all the way down at 5.5 furlongs. It was a sharp sprint. He faced a couple of next out winners, and maybe that distance was just a little bit sharp for Flash of Genius. His last race on turf at Remington, his first off a layoff, it was an okay performance where he ran 3rd, but again, he's taking a giant jump up at class, and I'm just not sure if this is his best surface. Let's watch Best Actor dust him off in the Grade 3 Smarty Jones last time out. He beat a pretty good field. Creative Minister was 3rd in that race, and that horse placed in the Preakness earlier this year. Best Actor sat just off the leader, took over at will on the second turn, and draws away. You'll notice that he doesn't change leads in the stretch. That's kind of a thing with Best Actor. It'll be interesting to see if that affects him as he goes 1 mile and 1/8 for the first time, but this is a very lightly raced horse that is still learning the game. I wouldn't be surprised if he has a lot of upside potential still, and his tactical speed puts him in good stead. He's simply the horse to beat coming off of that Smarty Jones. Rattle and Roll began his career like maybe he was going to be a factor in the Triple Crown races of 2022. He won the Grade 1 Breeders' Futurity as a 2-year-old, showcasing this big, wide, sweeping move on the turn, and he kept on going. Had a little bit of an issue over the winter, just didn't seem to come back in his best form at 3, and I like what Kenny McPeek's done. in his recent starts with Rattle and Roll. He realizes this horse is not going to be a top-tier 3-year-old, but there's still plenty of money to be made in sort of these lower-level derbies. He won the American Derby, a $200,000 race 3 starts back, and then he won this race, the $250,000 St. Louis Derby at FanDuel Racing last time out. And he was the big favorite in this race, and Rattle and Roll was sort of bounced around at the start, and Brian Hernandez wisely took him to the outside to avoid getting caught in any kind of traffic trouble. He made a big 4-wide move on the turn. He takes the lead while well off the rail, and he goes about his business. Perhaps the best thing out of this race was not only that he did have to give up some ground, but he earned a 97 Beyers speed figure. There wasn't a lot in there against him. The horse that made the lead and ended up finishing last is a turf horse. He would come back to win a Grade 2 stake at Kentucky Downs with a 99 Beyer, but Rattle and Roll's taken a step up in class here to face Best Actor. I think 1 1/8 is well within his scope. I think he's a little bit more tactical than some of these others where he can stay close if the pace is slow. Maybe Rattle and Roll is slowly coming into his own again. Big Chopper is the number 6. Let's watch his most recent start at Remington Park. He's going to get wired in a 2-turn mile. He ran okay in here. He was on the chase throughout. He is really trying in the stretch. The comment says hung. He did have his chances. I'm not sure he exactly hung. I think he gave it his all. He just got beat by a horse that had a better trip than he did. Now he's going to stretch out to 1 1/8. He does have a hint of early speed. Maybe Lane Luzzy is just going to try to take this race to the favorite Best Actor, but the Louisiana bred is going to have to step it up against open company. King Ottoman is next, and King Ottoman's last race, the West Virginia Derby, you could take that race with a grain of salt or two. It was a sloppy track. He didn't get off to a good start, and I just think that took him out of his element, getting a little bit of mud kicked back into his face. His prior start, the Indiana Derby, he finished directly behind Best Actor, also over a wet track. This is a horse that I believe is going to appreciate every step of 1 1/8. I think he is another one with some upside potential for Steve Asmussen. And the West Virginia Derby, it was won by a pretty nice 3-year-old in Skippy Longstocking in a race where there wasn't a lot of pace. So that poor start might have compromised him a little bit more than even it looks on paper. Great Escape completes the field. He's one of those Deodoro horses that they sent up to Canada, and he made hay in this race, the Grade 3 Canadian Derby, going 1 1/4 at Century Mile, where he stayed up close to the pace with his stablemate Red Knobs, and he gets the better of Red Knobs in the stretch. 77 Beyer speed figure for Great Escape. That's likely not going to do it in the Oklahoma Derby, and this horse was whipped by Rattle and Roll last year in the Breeders' Futurity. Before we get to my top selection, please click the subscribe button on the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel for all the latest DRFTV video franchises. Top pick time in the Oklahoma Derby. Best Actor is the horse to beat. I want to see Rattle and Roll become a good horse and maybe take down a big purse as not the favorite. He is 5-2 second choice on the morning line. He might need a little bit of pace help up front, although I do think he's versatile enough to stay close. Best Actor has the upside. He's the horse to beat. He's run some very fast races. I'm a little concerned about his inability to change leads in his last race, and maybe that'll work against him at 1 1/8. So I'll go with Rattle and Roll to upend Best Actor in the Oklahoma Derby. It's Sunday's DRF race of the day. Good luck.